This is CES MMA.
Once again, Scott Ream joined by Mike Parenti. We are here cage side at Twin River Casino.
I don't know who's coming to the cage.
Well, I can tell you with certainty, it is Worcester's own Ralph Johnson. Scott, have you ever talked about coming out to a Miley Cyrus song if you make your comeback?
If I ever do, could somebody please hit me in the head with a 2x4 for knowing who Miley Cyrus is?
Well, here's one guy you don't want to get hit by, and that's Ralph Johnson of Worcester. Now, the record may not show it. He's 6-7, but when you consider the fact that all 6 of his wins have come by first-round knockout, this is a guy you have to worry about within the first 5 minutes.
Well, we were here watching Ralph Johnson drop Chuck O'Neal in the first 15 seconds of their fight. Ralph's got ridiculously good hands. His drawback is when it hits the ground, he's not as educated as some of the other fighters. Now, Ralph has a million things going on in his life. He was working very hard. He took this fight on a week's notice. You know, ROSA is a really good fighter, strong fighter. You want to keep him busy, and he's also a tough fighter. So who steps up? Seriously, who steps up? Ralph Johnson. Tough fighter. He's got his work cut out for him tonight in ROSA, but if ROSA sleeps on him, he could be going to sleep.
As you mentioned, another fight taken on short notice, and perhaps that's Ralph Johnson's other drawback. He never has full time or gives himself full time to prepare for a fight. When he fought Chuck O'Neal, he essentially emptied the tank within the first 45 seconds, had nothing left to give.
When you take a fight on short notice, that's all you got. If I know I got 2 minutes, it's just don't make it last 3.
Of course, this is a guy who could empty his tank in a minute and still win the fight, as evident by the fact that he has 6 first-round knockout wins. Maybe tougher to come by against a guy like Charles Rosa, Scott, with his background.
We've really got to watch Charles grow. He's been here. This is, I think, his 3rd or 4th time fighting with CES. He's a local guy who's kind of took off, went down to Florida, trains out of American Top Team. There's been a nice little write-up MMA junkie, been following him a little bit, Sherdog. So this is really starting to come around. He's getting a little notoriety. I like him. I think he's a very versatile fighter. I think he stays composed. I haven't seen him in a precarious position once. He's definitely a talent, a huge prospect on the way up. And Ralph Johnson takes the fight, short notice. You know what? I got to be honest with you. You turn to Rosa and say, all right, I'm fighting a guy that's damn near a foot taller than me on short notice.
Not only is there a significant height advantage for Ralph Johnson, almost more than a foot, you talk about the last guy you want to fight on short notice would be a guy like Ralph Johnson because of his heavy hands. But Charles Rosa, an accomplished wrestler at Johnson & Wales in Rhode Island. He's actually a chef in Florida, so I guess you could call him the fighting chef if you'd like to. We'll see if he can...
I'm not going to call him anything. But, you know, if you look in Rosa's corner right now, you see Mikey Brown, WEC veteran, WEC former champ, and UFC veteran Mikey Brown.
All right, let's take a look at the Devil's Cut tail to tape. Again, we see that height advantage. Charles Rosa coming in at 5'10", Ralph Johnson a tall, towering 6'5". Johnson, of course, 6'7", and Rosa perfect at 5-0. Let's send it down to Rick Provost for the official introduction.
This is the Devil Cut bout of the evening. The fight is scheduled for 5 3-minute rounds in the welterweight division. And again, your official referee cage side is Kevin McDonald. Right now we'll begin in the blue corner, weighing in at 171 pounds with a professional record of 13 fights with 6 wins coming by way of knockout out of Worcester, Massachusetts. Please welcome Ralph Johnson. And fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 169 pounds with a professional record of 5 wins with no losses. 3 of those wins coming by way of knockout and 2 by submission. Out of Peabody, Massachusetts, representing America Top Team, please welcome Charles Rosa. 3 rounds welterweights.
Again, Scott, I would remind all the viewers, if you haven't seen Ralph Johnson, keep your eyes open because he's going to let his hands go early. If the fight gets passed around, of course, it favors Charles Rosa, but keep your eye on Ralph Johnson.
I spoke to Ralph a little bit before the fight. He said he had a kind of tough weight cut, so we'll see if that plays a factor, not only a short notice fight, but he might have a hard time recovering. You can see Rosa doing something I haven't seen him do before, more of a karate type stance coming out lefty against a taller fighter.
You're be assured that he understands Johnson's background and what he's accomplished in those 6 wins, and I'm sure it's a precautionary measure. We'll see how Rosa handles it.
Well, Johnson's doing the right thing now. Good footwork and putting that jab out, even if it's short, keeping Rosa off.
Ralph Johnson's even discussed getting into the boxing ring, and why not? With 6 first-round knockouts in mixed martial arts, shown he can be the puncher.
Not to mention he's 6'5", he would fight 168. Can you imagine a super middleweight at 168? I mean, at 6'5".
It'd be quite a spectacle, and most of Johnson's fights have been just that. Either knocks you out or he gets stopped. It's really no middle ground with him.
I can relate.
Nice rear leg kicks to start out for Rosa, but Johnson trying to work that jab, trying to keep it close where he can land. And of course, Rosa wants to keep him away from him and keep him at bay.
Now there's the shot under by Rosa, looking to get Johnson to the ground. Ralph doing a good job of fighting off that takedown. Great job by Ralph. I'm happy to see that. Nice right hand by Johnson. Nice knee. There's Rosa's takedown. Great job. He grabbed hold of that knee and took the single well. Johnson back up to his feet again.
Great job by Ralph
Excellent
Johnson.
action early.
Hopping right back up to his feet. When he gets down to the ground, that's where it tends to get ugly for him. And I'm sure he knows that in the back of his mind. This is where he wants the fight, standing up.
Nice knees by Johnson off the tie clinch. This is where the height difference plays such a significant role.
Well, like you said, you don't have to lift that leg too high to land those knees when you're 6'5".
I don't even know if Johnson's foot's coming all the way off the cage floor to make those knees count.
1-2 combo for Johnson, working his boxing skills.
Now that's what Rosa wants to do, is to shoot in. Johnson's doing a good job of trying to control his head, but Rosa does a great job with the takedown. Nice short elbows by Johnson off that clinch. Rosa's doing a nice job trying to pass here. He does, he passes the side control. Ralph needs to get back down, lay flat, and then turn on the other hip. He can't turn away from Rosa, he'll give up his back. Rosa doing a nice job. He looks like he's going for a guillotine here. He's going to try to jump that guillotine. Johnson needs to basically just stand up. It looks like he's going for a Peruvian necktie maybe. There's your anaconda roll. There's your gator roll to the anaconda choke. That's it. He gator rolled him to an anaconda.
Well, as we said, if Ralph Johnson does get down to the canvas, it tends to be a quick finish, and Charles Rosa showed that wrestling ability and, of course, the great groundwork to submit Ralph Johnson in the opening round. Johnson never really able to let his hands go like he would have hoped for, Scott. Never landed that signature punch like he did against Chuck O'Neal, and once I think Charles Rosa got into rhythm, that was all she wrote.
Rosa had to fight. He had to figure out the mystery of how to get past all that length, all that height. And he did a fantastic job. We'll see it in the replay where he started it off. He went gator roll to anaconda.
Here is the Badass Incorporated replay. Scott, take us through this.
That's the gator roll that you see him doing now. He has the anaconda choke on. He gator rolls over, brings his knees in deep, crunches like you're doing a crunch sit-up, and that's how he finishes. You want to roll your opponent over. That also tightens that choke. I thought from this particular position, he was looking for a Peruvian, but then you see the hand shoot through here. There's your gator roll to take him over the top, and then he closes the distance and does the belly crunch, and that's what seals the deal with the anaconda.
It's worth noting, too, when Rosa shot in for the eventual, you would say, game-changing takedown, Johnson was no more than a foot away from the cage, didn't stay in the middle of the cage enough.
Actual, like we were talking about earlier, if you don't want to go on the ground, you keep your back off the cage. Now, a lot of guys defend very well off the cage, but with that such a significant height difference, Rosa was able to drop down very, very low and use that to his advantage.
There it is, Charles Rosa, the victor. Let's send it down to Rick Provost for the particulars.
Okay, CES MMA fight fans, at 3 minutes and 3 seconds of round number 1, referee Kevin McDonald stops the bout due to tap out from a Darce choke. And your winner is Charles Rosa.